Hey guys, hope you're doing well and had a very good holiday weekend. I just want to take a few minutes and go over your discussion question from Module 4 in terms of transfer of training and ways in which we can enhance transfer and training within your organization, and basically give you guys a little bit of an explanation in terms of the grades. So this module, in terms of this question, I was a little bit more strict in terms of what I was looking for in terms of the question and so forth. So something that no one really had any issues with was simply just defining what transfer training is. And as we mentioned in your course materials and in the previous book, organizations, in order to become more efficient, more successful, are, as we all know, are going to dish out, financial, for you guys to go to trainings, okay, to learn information and ideally bring that information back to that particular organization. And transfer training is simply just what you learn from that particular conference, training, whatever it may be, and the ability to apply it at that organization. And more importantly, teach it to your fellow employees. So again, that organization can become more efficient and more successful moving forward. One of the questions that one of you guys brought up was simply, again, how do we know what it is that we need to identify and work on? And your course materials talked a little bit about that in terms of how we go about analyzing our organization in terms of identifying different types of areas. And I'm kind of just pulling up your notes here when we look at assessing training needs. So obviously organizations must identify what particular training needs exist. And, each organization obviously is going to differ in terms of those particular training needs. So different ways in which we're going about doing that is simply through organizational analysis, task analysis, person analysis, and demographic analysis. Organizational analysis, pretty self-explanatory. Where is training needed within that particular organization? So we may look at performance appraisals. We may look at output in terms of particular areas. If I were to use my occupation as an example, we do yearly assessments or every other year in terms of course materials. Are students meeting the objectives? Are they meeting the goals of particular courses? Things like that. And then looking at the overall picture. So organizational analysis. Task analysis, what duties, tasks, behaviors, and actions are needed to improve. So one thing we may do is we may look at similar jobs in the particular area and identify certain things that maybe those particular organizations are doing better, identifying those KSAOs. Person analysis, again, pretty self-explanatory. How well are employees carrying out their job responsibilities? Who specifically needs certain types of training? And then obviously, last is really the idea of demographic analysis. So looking at our overall organization, looking at the employees within, are there certain demographics within that particular organization that needs that specific type of training? One of the things that's constantly happening within a field, regardless of what it is that you're doing, is simply the increase in technology. So, are there certain demographics? Are there certain populations, age, for an example, that we may want to target in terms of keeping them up to par, so to speak? So that's one way we would look at our overall organization to identify training needs. Again, we push them towards that particular training, online, person, conferences, whatever it is, transfer of training. We want to bring that back to our organization. Now, where people may have lost points in terms of this discussion question is, again, as you guys move forward, not just in this class, but any class that you take, you want to make sure that you are very specific, you are very clear, and that you utilize and identify concepts, theory from your reading, okay, from your videos, from your PowerPoints, whatever it may be, in order to support, okay, your answer, so to speak. So I'll give you an example. Kind of a bad example, but hopefully it makes the point. So, very often people say, well, one way in which I'll enhance transfer of training is to assess how well the employees are doing afterwards. Okay. What do you mean? I mean, what do you mean by assess? Okay. Are there particular types of assessment you are going to use? Are there specific things you are going to be looking for in terms of your assessment? So one of the things your reading talked about, and one of the things that's very common is when we bring transfer training, we bring this material back to our organization. We want to be very clear about what the goals are, what the objectives are. If you remember, how are we going to measure, okay, those particular goals and objectives in terms of meeting the needs? Are we going to, I mean, we'll actually back up. Your book talked a lot about looking at behavioral changes, okay? There's no point in terms of having transfer of training or training our employees if they simply just don't change their behavior. How are we going to engage that? Also, in order to enhance transfer of training within our organization, what is supervision? What is administration? What is the organization as a whole going to do to enhance that? Another area where people gained points in terms of the discussion question was using real life examples in terms of jobs that they're currently on, or simply they just made organizations up and demonstrated, they identified very specific concepts in the reading, told the reader what those mean, and then showed how they apply to particular organizations in terms of that. So that again is something that I'm really going to emphasize as we move forward in terms of the course, is make sure you're very specific, very clear. And that's even more important on your final written assignment. So again, I'm asking you guys very specific questions in terms of the material. You not only just want to identify it, but you want to show that you're able to use it. All right. So even if a question doesn't ask for an example, provide one. Again, it will help you explain your answer, and if anything, it really helps structure your answer in terms of putting it together for you. All right, cool. So if you guys have any other questions in terms of this discussion question, feel free to shoot me an individual email. Other than that, the material for this week obviously is posted. The material for next week is also posted, so feel free to take a look at that. I hope to have your exams, I got a lot of them, graded by the end of the week, and I'll touch base with you guys then. All right, thanks a lot. I'll talk to you soon.